Thank you very much and good morning, everybody. I thought I'll start off by thanking the hosts for inviting me, and I'm very pleased that you are all here and that I share the panel with the other two distinguished guests. I'm going to start off by very directly answering the questions that were put to me. The first question was, how should government engage with civil society organizations around issues of social development, human rights, and access to justice? And let me say that any effective and accountable democracy is reliant on the active participation of its citizens in the process of democracy, including through civil society organizations. Government should engage with partners in civil society to do the following things. Firstly, to identify best practice models on local, provincial, and national government level. Secondly, to study those models as case studies to develop recommendations for service delivery rollouts. Thirdly, to encourage peer-based training where good managers share best practice ideas with colleagues in other municipalities, provinces, and departments. And finally, to reward public institutions that develop innovative responses to society's challenges. The DA believes that an independent and a vibrant civil society is essential to the preservation of an open society because it acts as a bulwark against any attempt by the state or the ruling party to impose a hegemony of thought and truth over society. Second question was, what are your commitments to ensuring better access to improved non-profit funding, including amendments to legislation? And let me say that tax deductibility of charitable giving is a key focus of our work. To encourage charitable activities and investment in civil society organizations, we will reform the tax code to make it easier to set up charitable foundations, to increase the percentage of donations that may be tax deductible, and to remove restrictions on the buildup of capital by charitable foundations over time. Anybody knows the tax legislation that we have, it actually discourages all of the things I just mentioned. We will review the 10% tax deduction ceiling on charitable giving by wealthy individuals to encourage those who can invest in our country's people to do so. The DA's policy on social protection makes the following additional proposals around funding for NGOs and civil society organizations. First, to make use of longer funding cycles to encourage long-term financial and operational planning by NGOs and civil society organizations. And secondly, to maintain a dedicated research, monitoring, and evaluation unit within the Department of Social Development. This is in the Western Cape, and also nationally, which can provide support for funding reviews, so to ensure that public funding for civil society organizations really serve societal needs. We will also prioritize funding for organizations that support the provision of services that should actually be provided by an efficient state. Thus, fund organizations that fill the gaps in public service, the real gaps. Then, the final question, the third question, was who in government is responsible for liaison with MPOs and how does your party plan to improve this function? And let me say that all public leaders and decision makers have a responsibility to engage with interest groups to identify delivery failures and to work on collaborative solutions to society's problems. Civil society must also make effective use of the channels that are available for public participation, particularly in the processes of parliament around policy and legislation. Staying quiet means that you are giving implicit consent to bad legislation and policies. The DA engages in earnest with the public submissions of all organizations made to Parliament and voice our support for proposals that are aligned with our values. We invite civil society organizations to use the available platforms and to use interactions in a constructive manner to contribute to solutions. And finally, what are your plans to ensure effective and accessible public participation processes? Let me say that to promote accountability and cooperation between the government and the people of South Africa, the DA would ensure that all meetings of national and provincial parliament, parliamentary portfolio committees, local councils and council committee meetings are open to the public. To ensure that there is a proper ward committee system in place with membership that is truly representative of the local community. to make all relevant government information available online in an accessible format and at public libraries and municipal information centers, to aim to make as many government services as possible available online, and to facilitate interaction with government through online platforms, and finally to use both traditional and social media to foster participation by the public and civil society in the decisions and processes of government. Bye.